get into the offensive storylines. And I just thought this would be the easiest thing to do. Let's pull up the offensive depth chart on the screen here.
Okay.
And it kind of sizes up some of the changes that we've seen. And, some of the big things that have happened for Nebraska. Nate Borkacher, gone off the team, going to A&M next year. Isaiah Naor has opted out of the bowl game just to not return to practice after the game at Iowa, where he dropped the pass that could possibly won the game for Nebraska. So we won't see Isaiah Naor, which is disappointing when, a guy gets
there
paid.
We go.
Here you go. But yeah, when you pay a guy like Naor a lot of money to come here for 1 year and just kind of taps it out. And Rule's very good about how he says that publicly, but come on.
He smoothed it over very well.
Dante Dowdell, not on the depth chart. He is gone.
That's the biggest one.
But Ramir Johnson, the New York Harlem native, is healthy and ready to go with Emmett. So you've got two good backs. Jalen Gramstad will go into the bowl game as the number 2 quarterback for Nebraska.
I think of everything you just covered, the most interesting storyline besides Dana Holgorsen, I'll get to that, is the running backs. Emmett Johnson now gets I'm going to say 4th straight start. Is that right? Emmett Johnson, he is now your premier back. The definitive premier back for Nebraska is Emmett Johnson. Pretty much, I think he's really benefited from Dana Holgorsen. Dana Holgorsen likes backs who can do it all: catch, run, and protect. He doesn't want backs who can only do 1 or 2 of those things. He wants backs that can do all 3. Ramir would be a gigantic story if he's able to close his career in Harlem at the Pinstripe Bowl in a big way. That'd be great. And Quentin Eyes, from right there too. So that running back room is really interesting going into this. Also, we should mention Harburg at tight end. Harburg playing tight end all month. Wouldn't it be interesting if Harburg catches a ball down the seam for about 30 yards?
Yeah, and I think that's why they were okay with Borkacher moving on. The market that he got on the open market, he was getting paid. There's so few tight ends on the transfer market. He got paid a lot of money. And for Nebraska,
he got 9 catches.
And for Nebraska,
this year,
where their room is at right now, it didn't make sense paying him maybe double, triple what he's making. And for a guy that was a true, and you wish him well because he did his job here and maximize his opportunities at Nebraska.
A guy that we don't mention enough in that conversation is Luke Lindenmeyer. They like him.
He's a good role player, does his job, but yeah, that room, how that turns out, and no Micah Mazuka.
Yeah, Mazuka had played valuable minutes for Nebraska on the left side of the line, both guard and tackle. When they shifted him to tackle, he played well, and he played with a bum shoulder. So give him a lot of credit. Now, as far as Holgorsen goes, we'll get a better idea of the Dana Holgorsen. A better idea of the Dana Holgorsen offense, because he has all month, and it's not that it's going to be a different offense per se. It's just going to get narrowed down more. That's the theme that you hear. The two things that you hear attached to that conversation are this. He's just narrowed down what they were doing narrowed it down a lot. And he's very personnel driven. His offense going forward will be determined by which players are your best players.
Well, and he's really quick to point out, he's like, I don't just run the air raid, and
he doesn't run the air raid.
And big picture in my mind, I think Dana Holgorsen, if this works out well here for a few years, he would like to be an offensive coordinator, maybe in the NFL.
Is that
like
right?
I've heard that, like that NFL OC, that type. Look at some of these guys in the NFL right now and what they're doing.
That
like
makes sense.
Cliff Kingsbury and so I think in his mind that would be, if he ever moved up the ladder. I don't know, being a head coach, sure, the right opportunities there, but I think he wants to show that he's a versatile offensive coach that can.
That's a good point. And his offense, the way he's running it now, would work in the NFL. It would. So I think Holgorsen is maybe the most interesting storyline for Nebraska. And I also think Holgorsen might be the biggest reason for optimism for this program in 2025. I really believe that.
Because you've got a guy that can push the right buttons, do the right things. And you saw that. I mean, even in the Iowa game, I mean, he put them in positions to win the game.
Yeah.
And they put drives together. They had for 3 quarters, they played pretty good offense against a defense that doesn't give up much. They just couldn't finish in the red zone.
Right. And I mean, I give him a lot of grace in this conversation, because I just go back to, he didn't come here expecting to be in that role, wearing that headset, holding a play sheet. When he came here in early November, he didn't expect this. It was, Matt wanted something from him that he probably wasn't necessarily expecting, but Matt sold it, and he said, let's do it. Let's do it. But it's been an enormous challenge. He just got here. He was named to that position on November 11th. So less than 2 months
and
ago.
If not for them sharing the same agent, something like this just doesn't happen that easily.
Probably not. Yeah, you're right.
But that relationship, the offense should have enough to put it together and have a chance to win this game. I think that's just the reality. When you look at what this looks like for Nebraska, they've got enough to win it, even without Borkature, without Mazuka, without Dowdell. Like Dowdell leaving too, Matt Rule's comments are very interesting on that.
Dowdell, he was a leading rusher. He had 12 touchdowns. What happened with Dowdell clearly is Kentucky, where you ended up, came with a much bigger number than Nebraska. Am I wrong? They come with a much bigger number than Nebraska's
probably double.
Pay. Yeah.
They and that's the portal in a nutshell. Somebody can come in and just buy you.
I'm not going out on a limb. If you listen to Rule, that's the conclusion you draw.
I don't think Dante in his heart of hearts probably wanted to leave Nebraska.
Matt said that.
But
Matt said that.
Other people in his camp and people probably pulled him that direction.
Or if the number's so big, you just can't say no, even if it's not exactly what Matt said the words, Rule. He liked it here. Dowdell liked it here. So he wasn't looking to leave.
And people forget how far he came. When he came in the spring, he was nowhere near the discussion yet. It took him a while to kind of get up.
You're so right. At the beginning of the spring, I remember thinking he might not play.
And he wasn't used to he rose quickly though. But at the start of spring ball, the internal chatter we had from people were like, yeah, he's got to need a year, and he came quick and got that.
Yeah, he's really an interesting player to me, Sean, because I kept saying it. I've said it so much, but it's true. He's so explosive. He has
this doesn't make people miss very well.
That's the issue. He's an interesting player because I think he could get really good. And my guess is that's what Kentucky saw, is that they see he's still developing. Now, some people would say you don't develop vision. You have it or you don't. So that's what we're going to find out. Can he develop better vision, seeing holes, making guys miss better? If he can, then he's going to run for 1,000 yards, because he ran for 612 here. He ran for 612 this year, Sean.
It's really hard to be 1,000-yard back in the SEC and the Big Ten. Really hard.
Good point.
You've got to be a pro.
Yeah.
And is he a pro? Probably.
He's got pro physical attributes. He does.
But if you're 1,000-yard back in these two leagues, you're a pro.
Yeah, maybe thousands. That might be a little
700-800 maybe.
That might be a little optimistic.
All right.
Sean, no, he's got 2 years to go.
Well, most running backs don't want to be in college for 4, though.
That's true.
If you're a good running back, you're gone. Because your shelf life in the league, you're lucky to make it to 28 or 30.